Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Sri Yukteswar, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, thank you for the lives you lived and for the lives you continue to live in the light. Divine Mother, help us to see thee behind the veil of duality, thy presence recognized in all of your manifestations. Help us to realize your oneness with all and our oneness in thee. Om. Peace. Amen.
When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I'll see thy light. When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I'll see thy light. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in the light. Hand in hand, we're dancing together in thy light. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll know thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll know thy joy. Mother, awake me from thy dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand, we're dancing together in thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all fear. When I awake, I'll know thy love. When I awake, I'll end all fear. When I awake, I'll know thy love. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother,
We'll meditate now for about 5 minutes. Continuing with meditative awareness, with our minds at peace. Listen to these words by Swami Kriyananda from Affirmations for Self-Healing. This week, week 8, the quality of contentment. Contentment has been said to be the supreme virtue. Contentment means living to the fullest the good of every passing moment. Above all, it means living behind the present moment in the eternal now. How much is lost in life by people who perennially wish things other than they are, who complain unceasingly and tell themselves that the world owes them more than it is giving them. We must smile inwardly with God, knowing that life is His dream. Contentment is the surest way of drawing the very best out of every circumstance. Let's practice the affirmation the way that Yogananda taught, first out loud with strength, then completely natural in a normal speaking voice, then in a whisper as if speaking to our inner conscience, and then finally with the attention at the point between the eyebrows, completely silent, super consciously. So first out loud, repeat after me. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented.
Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented.
For I hold in my heart God's peace.
For I hold in my heart God's peace.
Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented.
Through life's storms, I am contented.
For I hold in my heart God's peace.
For I hold in my heart God's peace.
Repeating after me at home in a whisper. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented. For I hold in my heart God's peace. And now with the attention at the point between the eyebrows, completely silent. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. Please follow along silently with this prayer. Lord, as you live eternally at rest in yourself, so let me live also, contented ever, that I may be worthy of living in your joy. Om, peace. Amen. And now a reading from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita. This week, week 8, the title, Can Man See God? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. There is a saying in chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John that would seem to respond with a definite no to the question, can man see God? The saying is, no man hath seen God at any time, the only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. Many great saints, however, claim to have seen God. If we ask then, can God be seen, rather than can man see God, the answer is yes, else those saints lied, and the scriptures themselves lied. For Jesus also said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The point is, it is not man, this human body, these human eyes, that sees God. God can be seen only with spiritual vision, with the eye of the soul. As the Bhagavad Gita puts it in the 11th chapter, thou canst not see me with mortal eyes. Therefore I now give thee sight divine. Behold my supreme power of yoga. With these words, Hari, the exalted Lord of Yoga, revealed himself to Arjuna in his infinite form. Paramhansa Yogananda, in Autobiography of a Yogi, describes the supernal experience in words more readily comprehensible to modern minds than the poetic phraseology of the Bhagavad Gita. The chapter, An Experience in Cosmic Consciousness, is one of the most inspiringly beautiful in all mystical literature. Here is a brief excerpt. An oceanic joy broke upon the calm, endless shores of my soul. The Spirit of God, I realized, is exhaustless bliss. His body is countless tissues of light. I saw the divine dispersion of rays pour from an eternal source, blazing into galaxies, transfigured with ineffable auras. Again and again, I saw the creative beams condense into constellations, then resolve into sheets of transparent flame. By rhythmic reversion, sextillion worlds passed into diaphanous luster. Fire became firmament. I cognized the center of the empyrean as a point of intuitive perception in my heart. Irradiating splendor issued from my nucleus to every part of the universal structure. The creative voice of God I heard resounding as Om, the vibration of the cosmic motor. This, so the great masters affirm, is what God is, and this also, they insist, is what we are in our deepest reality. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Thank you, Satya. I wasn't going to do an announcement, but I have to do one. That next week we will be having our first Festival of Light online with Nayaswami Maria McSweeney from the village. She will be leading us in a Festival of Light. So this is an experiment. Join us. Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere. Love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere. Love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. heaven on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from the skies to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh.
Now I'd like to introduce a dear friend and one of the most scintillating expressions of Divine Mother that I know, Nayaswami Jyoti Spearin. She's a longtime Ananda dweller, a minister, a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher, a Johnny Appleseed of Master's word across international boundaries, and a member of Ananda Development Department, something which I'm not familiar with, and also a member of the Outreach Energy. So I'd like to introduce our friend and also to welcome Jyoti to Ananda Monterey Bay. Thank you, dear soul.
There we go. Good morning, great souls. It's such a joy to be with you. And I see we have some Texans joining us as well. So you obviously have a lovely exchange between your sister groups. Hi, Maitri and Mark. So to begin today, I would like to share this whispers with you. Thou art so plainly present everywhere. I bow to thee. When I dance happily, dear Heavenly Father, I dance with thee. Wherever I look, I see thee peeping out at me from just behind everything. I see thee every day painting the sky with bright colors. I watch thee clothing the bare ground with green grass. I see thee shining in the sunshine. Oh, I see thee so plainly present everywhere. I bow to thee. Master, huh? And so, rather than can God see man, can God be seen? Of course he can. We know that God, the divine, has been seen throughout history. There have been so many saints who have attested to that. The visions, the children of Medjugorje, the Saint Anthony of the Desert, when he declared, I have seen him, speaking of Jesus. And in our own beloved, profound scripture, the Gita, it's from the chapter on the divine vision. We alluded to it in the reading that Satya shared with us. But this is where Arjuna begs Krishna to be, that he show himself as he really is. And so Krishna does, he shows him his infinite self. And Arjuna is completely overwhelmed. He begs Krishna to come back into a form that he knows as his beloved. Krishna does. And then Krishna, back into his form as the beloved, says it is not attained by penance or by faithfulness to scripture or by charities or formal worship. O Arjuna, only by single-hearted devotion, achieved through deep yoga practice, is it possible to behold me and to become one with me, as you have done in my cosmic form. He who serves me alone, who makes me his only goal, who lovingly surrenders every thought of I to me, who releases all attachment to aught else, and who, beholding me in all, bears no ill will toward anyone. He, Arjuna, enters my vast being. What a promise. And so how do we get there? Well, first, let's look at maybe why we don't see God. Because we're distracted by Maya, the delusion, and we lose our focus on him. So to get there, we have to train ourselves to look for him always, as much as we can be reminded, to look for him beyond this world of duality. We must see him through the eye of the soul. Interiorize our awareness so that our perception changes. We have all the tools we need. We have everything. We have meditation. We have Kriya. We need to practice and love God with ever deepening devotion, as Krishna said, with single-hearted devotion. To see God, we have to be able to see the greater reality. And the soul, our soul, knows that there's more. We just have to practice what our gurus have given us. All of our techniques and practices Master gave us, all the tips, all the teachings through Swamiji are like arrows in our spiritual quiver. And they show us the way to God, to see and experience his living presence, both within our beings and without. We have to strive to develop that inner vision, the divine sight, the sight of the soul. Isn't that a beautiful thought? The sight of the soul, to see this world around us through the untainted beauty of the soul. Try to see the inner light. And once we have perceived that light, no one can dissuade us of our ability to see God. No one, because it's there. We've seen it. And we'll also begin to more frequently see that light, his presence, in others. Remember what Master said after one of the 24-hour or the 8-hour meditations at Christmas? He said, "You have no idea how beautiful you are. Light, silver and gold streams of light. We're made of his light. And the more we can see it, the more we can uplift and serve this world." Just look at the models of Swamiji, Swami Kriyananda. Look at our spiritual directors, Jyotish and Devi, our ministers, teachers, our gurubhais, our spiritual friends. Especially, just think about Jyotish and Devi for a moment, and Swamiji. But especially right now, because we're so confined, if you will, but through Zoom, through online. Notice how you feel, even through this technology, the light coming from them. And notice the inspiration that you feel and how you yearn to carry that inspiration forward in your lives. Share that light with others and look for that light always. It's there, maybe hidden, but our experience builds faith. And it says the light is present. We can experience it, we can see it. So some tips on how we get there. I've always been a big fan of the 8 aspects or manifestations of God. When I first learned of these 8 aspects, peace, calmness, love, joy, wisdom, power, light, and sound, the world began to make so much more sense to me. And I had greater hope. And so, for instance, in our meditation techniques, we're told to, after the techniques, to sit and try to feel, to experience that aspect of God that you can notice, that you feel. And so that is the living presence of God within. We try to expand into that peace that we feel. Merging or expanding into that peace is an experience of God's presence. Merging into love, into the light, into joy. We can touch the reality of God within us. And again, the more we practice, the more we begin to see that in the world around us. So we also try to practice beyond being on our cushion in meditation to experience him and look for him day to day. Let every circumstance be a reminder of him or one of his aspects. And try not just doing this when we're faced with challenges or difficulties, but when it's easier. Like, get in the habit of looking for him into day-to-day activities. So we were talking earlier, some of you weren't here, but of the snow, for instance. When I see that sparkly light in the sunshine on the snow, how could I ever doubt that God isn't present? I see that as his light in the world. It's like the light on a wave for those of you at the bay. Lucky you. The light in the wave, it's God's presence. Be grateful for it and don't dismiss it. Cultivate the experience of joy that you feel in noticing his presence. Hear the sound of Om in the rain or in traffic, not so much in traffic these days, but you get the idea. See the kindness in his smile, in a smile. See his love. Give his love in the silence of a smile to others. Can you imagine if we're more aware as we go about our days, being at the supermarket and smiling, being a channel for that love that is beyond any personality or quirk or whatever, that love, recognizing love, the opportunity. Sit at dusk and, I don't know, watch the sun go down and feel that quiet peace. that flows through your being. At dawn, try to feel or experience the power of what that is that lights the sky, that brings the sunrise this morning was incredible. It just blossomed over the eastern sky with a blaze of red and orange. It was so beautiful. So for calmness, even try to begin your day when you leave your meditation. Try to move with conscious, calm energy, poised, responsive. What a blessing to move into every moment from that place of center, of calmness. And for wisdom, listen to others, expecting wisdom. Be patient. Listen for wisdom. And so for joy in the exhilaration of activity, refer it back to God and feel the joy that is so much greater than a fleeting moment of whoopee. It's a remarkable thing, joy. And when I'm just thinking, for instance, I recently started up cycling, road cycling again after many years not, almost 3 decades. And we're out on the highway, we're on Highway 49, but I'll tell you what, every time I approach a hill, a downhill, it's just like I can feel that God's waiting for me to give it to him. And in doing so, it's just being reminded to experience that joy as his joy. It becomes so much greater. So when you're tickled, when you're experiencing joy, give it that puff of recognition that expands it. It's like, I know you all have you all have those things that bring you joy. Give it back to God and let it expand. Those are the 8 qualities. Remember to serve God in others. What do others need in a given situation? Reflect and share God's light, his love, wisdom, calmness, peace. And be reminded that it's God serving God. It isn't you. Yes, you have to remember to call on him, but you're his channel. Some years ago, I was called to a family gathering, and it had been some decades since I had seen some of the members of my immediate family. And it posed for me a great challenge because the situation had within it the potential for disaster, for confrontation, for disharmony. And I knew I needed to go. And so what I did, this came from another tradition, but morphed into our practices because I call it prayer prep. And so I tuned into which of the 8 qualities would I pray for myself, because I couldn't even conceive of what I should begin to pray for my family. And so for myself, I knew I needed to pray for love and peace, both of those things. And so my prayer prep went on for a couple of weeks before I left to go there. And whenever I thought to, I simply prayed that they experience and feel God's peace and God's love. So the trip was unbelievable. It was remarkable. There was nothing but harmony. There was nothing but harmony. God's love and peace weren't just my experience within a boundary. There was no boundary. God's love and peace was everywhere. It wasn't even the thought that this is a moment in time where I can experience God's love and peace. There was no boundary. There was no thought of it being otherwise. It was incredible. And yet I was experiencing it. And when I came home and I thought about the power of that experience, it changed me. And I know that it also changed those members of my family. It's been a remarkable journey since that trip. It's been a remarkable trip. So let's look at a few more practical tips for seeing God in the world around us. Remembering always that it's picked up by the thread, the most important thread, which is our practice of meditation, seeking God within. Think about we have to see life as more than this duality. And think about how you experience the world around you when you leave, let's call it a perceived successful meditation. Keep the screen or the veil of duality lifted as long as you can as you move forward into your day. And when you first begin to lose your connection, stop. Do something to bring you back in touch with God's presence within. Breathe consciously, God in, God out. Love in, love out. Kindness in, kindness out. Whatever might work. Practice mantra, Om Guru. Chant silently or out loud. Touch your spiritual eye. Look up just for a moment, even in the busyness of activity. Pray. Have some of those affirmations that are yours alone, that are your antidote to diving into behavior or away from God, let's say. Have your affirmation, pull it out of your quiver and get to it. I even make my own that are sort of short and snappy that bring me back. Do what works for you. Recognize and remember that God is there in whatever and whoever you see around you. God is there. We need to be reminded to look. And the more we practice it, the more real it becomes. So I wanted to just say, again, of the 8 aspects of God, the 8 manifestations. God is real, can be seen, can be experienced. So as Pam mentioned, I serve in the development department, which is a fancy way of saying I'm in fundraising for Ananda Sangha worldwide. And so last year we had an event for our donors, and you guys may have even been there, Sam and Pam, you might have been there. What we did, we wanted to say thank you. And so we came up with something called the Game of 8. And the Game of 8 looks like this. This is a deck of cards. Now, normally at Sunday service, we don't have props, but guess what? I'm at my dining table and I keep these like this. Oh, there's the backside. I keep these just leaning against a little statue of Master here. And so what I do with this Game of 8 is once I've finished my sadhana, I come out and do this right away. And I just say it as a prayer or as a request. God, what would you have me focus on today? What of your divine qualities, your aspect? And then I don't look and I pick a card. And of course, the card is always the perfect card. And some days when I get it 3 times in a row, you know, I think, all right, so pay attention to this. Pay attention. It's such a great thing. And you know, it's said that once we become absorbed in one of these aspects of God, we have experienced him. And we know once done that it's true and is ever available to us, but for the remembrance. So again, this is like a little commercial break. If any of you want one of these deck of cards, email me, jyoti@ananda.org. And I'm sure you're in my database. I'll look up your address, or you can send me your address, and I'll send you a deck of these cards. They're just so great. So that's the end of the commercial announcement for the 8 manifestations of God. So it's the ego that ties us to the screen or veil of delusion. Try to look beyond that screen or that veil to see those 8 aspects of God. Focus on them. Focus on the light. See it in others. See the essence of God in the world around you. And focus on service to that divine in others. It's all God serving God. And try to find a way for your work, for your family, for all that you do as God serving God. Take advantage of the opportunities because it helps to bypass the errors of the ego. It helps us to go beyond the habits of our personalities, of our preferences. It helps us to see the truth of what lies in everything, God. Love and forgive, pray. Keep your energy moving up, and when it's headed south, catch it, shift it, pull those arrows out of your quiver. It's so important. We need to use our will and our memory. Don't focus on what's wrong, but on what is the solution. And whenever you see beauty, thank God. Think of God. Thank God again. Today's affirmation, contentment. Through life's mightiest storms, I am contented, for I hold in my heart God's peace. So many of our affirmations, so much of what we're given refers back to experience God's peace, God's love, God's joy, the light. Those aspects are everywhere in our teachings, and they're there for us always. I think I have no idea what time it is, but are we okay? I'm about to close in. So from our Gita, there's the chapter of true yoga. It's chapter 6. Close your eyes for a moment and just tune into these words. He who beholds me everywhere and who beholds everything in me never loses sight of me, nor do I lose sight of him. That yogi rests forever centered in me, who, whatever his outward way of living, sees me at the heart of all beings. With your eyes closed, try to see that divine light resting at the heart of others. When you're in communication, when you see them on Zoom, when you see them at the supermarket or the gas station, see Master or that light, whatever works for you, see that light resting at their heart center. The light of God's presence. It is our challenge, responsibility, and blessing to try to see that divine light beyond all the shadows of this world. It is our challenge, responsibility, and most of all, our blessing. And so may we all be blessed to see that divine light more and more within ourselves, within each other, and in the world around us. Thank you, great souls. Om.
Thank you very much, Jyoti.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyoti, for being here and a wonderful talk. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just share a really quick story.
Yeah.
One Sunday morning, Jyoti and I were serving together at the front desk at EL. And these 3 people walked in who were obviously, they'd never been there before. They said they'd never been there before. And one lady said to Jyoti, "Good morning, how are you?" And Jyoti said, "Awake and ready." And these 3 people just stared. They were speechless. They just stared at her. It was so funny and cute.
I still say it.
I think their first thought was, where did I come to? What is this place?
This is one of my favorite topics, is just practicing the presence. And what better way to do it is to focus on the manifestations. It's true. And the more we practice and set the habit, it is a habit. I'm finding, because pulling ourselves out of the schlock of this particular plane is hard. I think sometimes it's easier than others, but there's a lot of stuff that's pulling us back down here. So the more we actually make the habit, oh, there's goes your kitty. The more we practice the presence, I think it dissolves the schlock around us and allows us to rise a bit. So it's one of my favorite things to do ever, because the expansion feels good. It just does, so thank you for giving us little hints and things, just bringing it to the top over the front of our minds to experience them, to remember.
You made a comment about seeing people's faces and when they smile. I haven't seen too many strange faces in the past year. Everybody is covered over with a mask. But looking into their eyes and greeting each other, not with a smile so much as sharing the joy with your eyes. You could tell when somebody is sincerely smiling and grateful to be around. Their eyes light up. Even if you can't see the smile on their face, you know what's going on. So it just gives us another thing to look at and look for in people, the joy through their eyes.
And look harder. No, I mean, we are, it seems, looking more intently because of the absence of most of the face. And so what a great practice. What a great practice, Sam.
It's fun. I was just the other day, we were someplace, must have been in a grocery store, I think, or somewhere. But it was a small child. I think it was a young girl, probably 4 years old. And her face was completely covered, except when we walked by, I kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit, saying hi. And you could see, you can almost see the glow come through her mask and her eyes. They just lit up like, oh, somebody said hi.
I remember when I first came to Ananda, my first trip to Ananda, I'd been meditating, teaching meditation for years before coming to Ananda and, living a good life. I'll just put it that way. And arrived at Ananda Village. It was SRW, Spiritual Renewal Week of 1993. That was the 100th anniversary of the birth of Mass. So, I mean, I came with some friends from Canada. We had no clue what we were landing in. We had no idea.
Oh, wow.
And so we took the Foothills flyer, the shuttle from the airport. Oh no, we stayed overnight in Sacramento to have some fun before we came to our spiritual retreat. And we landed at the Expanding Light. There was no guest services building. This was 1993. And there were tables set up abutting, people were signing in, were registering. And I looked up, I approached the S table for my surname, and I saw this woman, and I could not take my eyes away from her eyes. They were so full of light. I mean, she had an enormous bright smile, but it was her eyes that I was seeing. And I was transfixed. It was Karen Gamow. She was the greeter for S's on that day. And I remember saying to my friends after we had checked in or gotten our packages, and I said, "Did you see their eyes?" And we had all noticed it. And, I came with more baggage than luggage. Let me just put it that way. And I said, I wonder what they're taking. Because that's where I was. And I was kidding, but I was kidding, but I was then very, very watchful. And I saw the truth of who these people were quickly demonstrated in other activities, in other interactions. It was like Swamiji has trained us to be beacons of light in this world. It was such a remarkable thing. It just blew me away that there could be so much light within a human being. It was amazing. Anyway, home.
That's something that I've been practicing for a long time. I have a private practice, and I used to work for East West for over 10 years doing readings. And every time I would get a total stranger in, I thought I would always look for the light within them, and what aspect of God is coming to see me now, and what is it that I can do to help them, and holding that feeling of, I don't know them, I don't know what they're doing or anything, but I do know they are a part of God, then it automatically kind of opens up a doorway to their deepest souls and desires and needs, and then I can find where I can help. So I find that practice to be really wonderful, and I love to do it in a store, a grocery store, in the street. Oh, here's an aspect of God. Who is this one? They feel it too. I mean, they can feel it. So, yeah, it's kind of sweet.
I think we get back more than we give. Actually, friendly. I've the part of the readings when I do about God from Master is to just think about God as your friend, as your best, absolute closest friend, and that's what always gives me most comfort, is in communicating and feeling a closeness with God, is that's my greatest forever friend. And so whenever any human being comes up that I don't know, it's sort of like this is a package of potential in there, and that's the part that I see, that there's a potential for a friend in there. There's something in that person who could be my friend, and I feel friendly immediately, and they have to sort of do something to change my mind. But most of the time, it's just sort of like, this is a potential great friend because God is in that person, and if I relate to God as a friend, then therefore everyone is my friend, and it just makes things so much more fun. And I'm happier. I don't know if they are, but it makes me happier. So. Everybody's so happy this morning. We're just sort of basking in this great glow.
I love it, Jyoti, when you were talking about the threads that kind of hold us all together, and watching Anita doing some thread work here, and where they just kind of just all fit together with the talk and what was going on. I thought it was wonderful.
I was just being reminded by what you were sharing, Pam, that weekend that week being here at Ananda Village there were 500 people here. You were here, so Mm-hmm. I'd heard of divine friendship, of those, I'd heard those words, but it was when I met Swami Kriyananda for the first time. He was in the dining room at the Expanding Light. Have all of you, raise your hands for me if you have not been to the Expanding Light. Okay, Robin. Okay, Anita. Once COVID passes,
Got it. It's my plan.
it's like the so Swamiji was there's a raised area in the dining room by the front entrance, and Swamiji was standing there. I didn't know who Swamiji was. I saw several of his photographs. It was the day or the day after I arrived, and he was all alone. And in having seen him around, he was always surrounded by people. Well, I was getting my lunch at the buffet line, and I was carrying my plate, and I turned and I saw Swami, and he was, however, I don't know, 10 or 15 feet from me, maybe not that far. And I'm not shy by nature, but all of a sudden it was like a helicopter was landing in my chest. And I knew that I needed to go and approach him. And I really didn't know anything. I didn't really know anything. I knew nothing about Swamiji. And so I walked towards him, feeling this helicopter in my heart. Truly, it was just astonishing. I walked towards him, and when I was about 6 feet away, he said, it was just like the world stopped around us. There was nothing else happening. There were hundreds of people, but there was just us. And he said, "Don't be afraid. I'm your friend." I'll never forget it. And I walked towards him, and I knew the truth of those words beyond anything. I have no idea. I have no memory of what I said, what he said, except he reached out and he put his hand on my wrist. He held me just like that. And we had a moment. And then I left with my plate. And I went over to what was then the salad dressing station. And in those days, we had ladles that went into the salad dressing. So I dipped a ladle, or I pulled the ladle out, and I was shaking so profoundly that I sprayed my entire top with salad dressing. But it was Divine Mother's blessing, because I left the dining room with my plate of food. I went to my room and I cried. I just cried for, I think, probably a couple of hours I was there. And it wasn't tears of sadness. I felt such a relief. I felt seen beyond my foibles. I felt seen as who I am. It was amazing. So, I've remembered that because I don't remember it often enough to approach others with that pure heart. Because it's really, divine friendship is unconditional love. Swamiji.
I've mentioned it recently here in this group, but along with what you said, one of the few real actually connections I had with Swamiji was one time when he did the same thing. He reached out to my hand, and it wasn't Swamiji sitting there anymore. I really almost saw Master. I saw his arm coming through Swamiji. Swamiji was such a transparent channel for Master that it was just bam, it was so powerful. It was the same thing. It touched me in a way like this is real, you know,
Yeah.
and it changes you, and you never
Truly.
ever forget it. And you're healed in some way. Yeah, you're validated. We are his song like no one can love me, you know, and that kind of a thing. And that's not true when you feel that touch.
Right.
You're truly in the presence, whatever it is, whatever the delivery system, it doesn't matter. But Swamiji was such a transparent delivery system for Master and for God. Oh my gosh, how blessed are we? Come
No
on.
kidding. But he showed us, he charged us, really. It's our challenge, our responsibility, and our blessing to be that channel in this world. Yeah. Mm.
Does anybody else want to say anything or come off your muting? I'm sorry, Sean, that you can't get your muting unmuted. We'd love to hear you say something.
I used to be able to read lips, Sean, but they're too far away for me to see.
I think Robin had something. She had her hand up.
Yeah, to begin with, of course, such a deep, deep gratitude for our group and for, for Jyoti joining us. Thank you. And I'm fairly new to Ananda, and loving this because me too that's been to feeling the presence and remembering that, and God in doing the dishes, and God in doing my gardening or loving on my children, and that's been really present for me for a long time. And the thing that has been more difficult for me is feeling God in here. And recently I've been thank you. That feeling of I heard that story of, God was so full of love that they just had to like make a million things so they could share it, right? And then the thought occurred to me, well, then that means me too. Yeah. So my practice lately has been like, remember, I am God experiencing life through this form. And it brings me to that place of feeling the infinite all connected. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I think we carry such, I know I do for me, I carry such whatever burdens or darkness from past lives or from this life's bumps and bruises and things that when our soul, maybe not consciously, when our soul sees a light, we go towards it. And when we find these acknowledgments that supports the love that's in us, that helps us see the love and the good in us, it's such a relief and a change from always the mea culpas that I was brought up with. Mea culpa, I have to go confess my sins. And I came into this consciousness with somebody else's sin on me, and oh my God, I'll never be able to have found this path where that's not the way we look at it, actually. The forgiveness or whatever it is, acceptance of self. I think that for me has been such an expansive experience. That's so hard. I'm always looking for the negative. I'm always finding the picky of all the things that are wrong. Mm-hmm. But I was trained to do that, and I'm good at it. And now I'm trying to reverse that. Mm-hmm. And this path gives me ways to do that. It gives me a reason to do that. And it gives me such positive reinforcement when it happens. It's crazy that I even have to remind myself that this is a good thing to do. There are those days that I spiral off in the wrong direction again, and that's a habit, though. That's a habit that doesn't belong to me. It's something I learned. That's not who I am.
Right. It's very easy for me. I don't know. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Anita.
I need to.
It's so easy to, when you're feeling bad about yourself, to think that you're connecting with God. Well, you are, but as a victim, and you're seeking solace and comfort. And, it's, my mother used to always say, well, when you're sad or upset, pray to God, pray to Krishna. And I said, well, I can't pray to him when I'm sad because it feels like I'm being a victim and I want him to rescue me. But when I'm happy, when my self-esteem is good and I'm confident, that's when I can really connect with God, because then it's a sense of I feel him, and the connection I have when I sit in my temple, when I'm in anxious mode or worried or just victim mode, because we all have our little child in us, and we all have our story or our baggage, as Jyoti was saying. Then it's a different relationship, So I think for me, I think of God, he can be your friend. Krishna said, I can be your friend, I can be your lover, I can be your child, I can be your mentor, your teacher. And so, whatever mood we're in, we can relate to God in that way. So we're always connected, because we're not always in the right joyful, happy, jumping up and down mood, This morning I was walking my dog and I was aching all over her and I didn't want to walk her. And I thought, well, let me get it over and done with. And I saw these children running around and I felt like I could see, wow, look at their spirit, look at the joy. That's what we should be. And then she weed. And when my dog weed, I noticed that the grass was so beautiful. And I was like, wow, Mother Earth just takes everything, and the rain comes and just washes it. And we have to scrub and clean and our countertops and our kitchen and throw our garbage out. And Mother Earth just takes everything and reprocesses it, and the grass just grows over it, and the rain just comes and I was just like in awe. I was like, wow, she did that. And then tomorrow the rain will come, the sun will come, and the grass will just grow. It's like everything just is so beautiful, Flowers are growing right where trees are decaying. It just replenishes. And so it was funny because I didn't want to go out for a walk and I was feeling so, but everywhere I just saw beauty, So I really resonate, Jyoti, with what you were saying. But I think sometimes when you're really down, maybe you can connect to God as your solace, your comforter, the witness through your life that's seen everything. And I don't know how others, but I can do it more when I'm happy. When I'm sad, I tend to not want to. I'd love other people's opinion.
For me, I know that God has wanted all of it: the sadness, the joy, the sorrow, the grief. And the more I surrender all of that, then the less pain I have, the less sorrow I have, the less depression or whatever. And so I know that for me, it's not an option to hold the grief anymore. I have to just surrender it. And then I'm relieved of it. And they know what to do with it. Take it. So I think for me, that's what I do. And it works.
I know pretty much where, when I'm caught, and I have come to employ those tools that I know work as the antidote. And it might be an antidote to inertia. It might, although for me that's not so much an issue, but it depends. Get to know those tools that you have that you can employ. And I'll chant when I need to open my heart, when I need to get away from my head. I chant, and and sometimes I don't even want to sing. All I'll do is I'll go to my harmonium and I'll just start playing. And that's all the energy I want to put into it. And it's a beginning. And then it continues, of course. So find those things where your resistance is a wee bit less than to other things. That's what I do. And I also, we have so many resources now online, snippets of talks, of teachings, of satsangs that are so helpful. And, turning on a screen, turning on a device is what it takes, basically. And bucking up my willingness quotient. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. I also wanted to, before we skedaddle, I did want to say, do you all know this book? Okay, so In Divine Friendship, they're letters of divine friendship. Swamiji wrote these letters to people who asked questions of him and so forth. And there, Pam, there's an extraordinary chapter in here on judgment. It is, I don't know if you've seen it, but every chapter, honestly, is extraordinary. There's one on love, advice and encouragement, judgmental attitudes. Thank you. Marriage and renunciation, strong medicine, yogic techniques, the avatar. It's just chock full of extraordinary wisdom. And I remember one day, because self-criticism or judgment was, and I can say that so truthfully, was such a part of my life for many, many, many years. And when I slipped one day into, I was aware that I was on a slippery slope, and it was familiar, let me just say. And I opened this book and I saw the chapter on judgmental attitudes. It was so terrific. It was so helpful for me. It was one paragraph specifically in a letter that was what helped me so deeply. So, we've got tons of resources. We've been given so much. That's another commercial break. Sorry.
Yeah.
It might be good to have a closing prayer. Jyoti, would you, unless anyone else wants to say anything? We're getting past 12:30, so I just wanted to
How about in a closing prayer, we do a blessing for Satya and Daya? Would that be a good thing?
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm looking at you right now, Satya and Daya, and imagining a great light, seeing a great light that rests between you and within you. Let's all visualize the light of the soul, the purity of that soul that is to become a part of their family. That light, bathed in light from above, that beautiful light expanding so that there is no separation between Daya the baby, and Satya. They are one in God's light. May they ever be bathed in that light. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in these thy children, Daya, Satya, and the wee boy. Manifest your healing presence, your infinite light in their bodies, minds, and souls. Let's rub our hands together and sending 3 ohms, bathe these dear ones in blessings. And may this Sangha, the Monterey Bay Meditation Group, be ever blessed, bathed in that light, united in that light. Om.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you.
And congratulations. I didn't know Satya and Daya. Wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, everyone. I feel your blessings so eternally in our hearts.
Thank you.
Bless you all. Thank you for having me. It's been a joy to see you, to meet some of you. The
Thank
game of 8, guys. The game of 8.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jyoti.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Hi, Guru.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Yes.